Right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking through one of the most common challenges I see for mountaineers, which get in their way of their expedition just before they go. Now, we're not talking about being undertrained. Obviously, that's a major thing, and we don't want to be in that position, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about injury, even though this is a major thing that trips a lot of mountaineers up in their final preparations, but that's not what we're talking about. We aren't talking about logistics. Obviously, getting all that right can be a little bit tricky, but that's not what we're diving into. What we are talking about, and what is one of the major roadblocks that I see from mountaineers leading into their expeditions, is getting sick right before their trip. This is so common for mountaineers that I've seen all around the world and talked to all around the world, just to get sick a week or two before their big expedition. Whether it's just a cold, the flu, something more sinister, or whatever it may be, it's so common. And it's ridiculous how common it is. Now, I think, when it comes down to this, it's probably for a number of kind of reasons that all come to a head in this situation. In the sense of when we get to the last couple of weeks of training, basically weeks and weeks and months of accumulated training and accumulated fatigue tends to come to a head. And in the last 2 weeks before you head away, typically that's our hardest week of training. And all of that fatigue just gets to the end point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm over this. I'm tired of this. But you're just pushing through and grinding through because you know your taper's coming up. And that's a factor. On top of that, once we get to our taper and we actually have, a week or two of pulling things back before a trip, of having a bit more space with our training, as much as technically you might think, oh, this is good recovery time, the body in itself, kind of relaxes. And it's like, hey, I can kind of chill out. I have a bit of space now. And that's just like, hey, now it's time to get sick. I'm sure there's a scientific reason for that. But that's a very, very, basic description. But I think that happens. On top of that, in the last couple of weeks, stress is generally pretty high. You're finishing up things with work, you're saying goodbye to your family, you're packing for the trip, you're doing your last minute expeditions, you're thinking about things, you're up at night while I'm nervous or whatever it may be, and it's very, very tricky. On top of that, self-care during this time tends to go down. If we are trying to organize last-minute things, our sleep gets impacted. We either can't sleep deeply or we're just extending time out to finish things. We don't really have a huge amount of relaxation time during this time. We can sometimes fall out of our healthy habits. We're cleaning out the pantry. We don't really want to do groceries. We're getting takeout. So we're not getting that fruit and veg and all of this. We forget to drink water. We forget to look after ourselves and all of that. And then on top of that, if you are doing an expedition overseas, or at least, somewhere else in the country, travel, getting on a plane, that's always a hotbed for getting sick as well. And it just leads to exposures for a lot of different things. So I think for all of these different reasons, it kind of ends up being like a perfect storm where it's like people are just at that high risk of getting sick, and it can happen so often. And in all honesty, getting sick right before a trip, it's obviously not what we want. And it can be a major curveball. At the very, very, very lighter side of things, it will affect your energy, your mood, your confidence, or whatever it may be. If it is something a little bit more serious, and if it, say, lingers for a week or two or whatever it may be, it can significantly affect our ability to perform on the mountain. It can significantly affect our ability to actually get up and succeed. And it can significantly affect how much enjoyment we have over there. It's not something we want to deal with. Now, obviously, there is nothing you can do to 100% avoid getting sick. But there are some things that you can do to help support your immune system, look after yourself, and stuff that I strongly recommend you put a lot of attention into in your final couple of weeks before you go away. Because it's very easy to forget about this stuff. This stuff sounds really, really basic, but I've seen it time and time again where this just goes out the window in the final prep. So if you have a big expedition coming up, or if you just got one in your sights, make sure you're following these things in the last couple of weeks. First and foremost, while you're traveling, the final couple of weeks, number one, avoid sick people. Common sense, but it needs to be said. If you have any chance of avoiding people who are sick in your life, if there's someone in the grocery store coughing away, get away from them. If there's a family member who's super sick, try to stay away from them. If there's, just sick people in general, if someone in the office is coughing up their guts, ask them to work from home, or you work from home, or just go somewhere else in the office. Do what you can to avoid sick people. On top of that, good hygiene in public spaces. Have some hand sanitizer. Use it. Wash your hands after going places. That simple stuff. Number 3, look after your sleep. As I said before, sleep can be impacted during this time. And sleep is really, really, really important for our immune health. So look after your sleep. Make sure you have a set time that you're going to plan to get to bed, even if you've still got tasks running around. Make sure you do have a little sleep routine. What can you do to help your body and mind unwind before you go to bed? So you're not sitting in bed and your mind's racing, or you're not tossing and turning, but what are you doing to support your sleep? Number 4, manage your stress. As I said, stress levels are very, very high during this time. What can you do to help manage that a little bit? Are you going to do some breathing routines? Are you going to do some meditation? Are you going to do some gentle walks? Are you going to do listening to some gentle music, or what, journaling, or whatever it is? But is there something you can do each day to help manage stress? Number 5, keep up hydration. It's very, very, very easy after we've finished all our hard training and we get into the taper period, that all the good habits we were doing previously to maintain our training, maintain our energy in the last little period, we forget about. Hydration is a prime example. It's so easy to forget to keep up with your hydration, keep up with your water in this final little period. So stay on top of that. Have reminders. Make that happen. Next up, keep up healthy eating. This is a really, really easy thing to fall into, because typically in the last week or so, before you head off on a big expedition, you don't really want to do groceries. You don't really want to get all this food, which you may or may not use. Again, you're running around. You don't have time, or whatever it may be. So a lot of people fall into the trap of just cleaning out their pantry and just doing bits and pieces, and also getting takeout. And logistically, there's nothing wrong with doing this type of stuff. But just be aware that if you are doing this, if you're clearing out the pantry or you're going takeout, still do what you can to have good options. Make sure you're still getting plenty of veggies. Make sure you're still getting plenty of fruit. Make sure you're not having crazy high processed foods or crazy high saturated fats, but just somewhere in the level of healthiness. So if you're cleaning out your pantry and just doing bits and pieces, well, just buy a few things of like maybe frozen veggies that you can have alongside things. If you're getting takeout, again, you could have frozen veggies alongside that, or just choose options which are a little bit more healthier side. Stay on top of that. And finally, minimize alcohol. Should go without saying, but a lot of people during this stressful period, they're like, yeah, I'm going to have a few beers, or I'm going to have a few wines, or whatever it may be. Or maybe you're saying farewells and good lucks on social events. That's fine, but minimize the alcohol. Save it for after the trip, because you want to look after your immune system as well as you can. So that's the final couple of weeks. That's all real common sense, but I can tell you right now, the amount of people who forget about this stuff, it's so easy, and just do what you can to look after yourself. Now, next up, if you're traveling. So this is mainly for people who are getting on a plane and traveling somewhere, whether it's across country, a different country, or whatever it may be. Few really, really simple things. Number 1, hand sanitizer. Planes are filthy. Bring the hand sanitizer, use it before you eat, use it after you go to the bathroom, whatever it may be. Number 2, bring a mask. If you're sitting next to someone who's coughing their guts up, have that mask and use it, because you don't want to be dealing with that sitting in the small space. Number 3, stay hydrated. Again, very, very easy to forget about drinking water on a plane. Very, very easy to forget about this. Stay hydrated. It will go a long way. And number 4, again, minimize alcohol on the plane. Save your booze for after the trip. Minimize it on the plane. And the final tip is, this is for people who arrive in a different country. And this isn't relevant for everyone, but if you go to a different country and it is a bit of a different culture than you're used to. And what I mean by that is they just have different cuisines or whatever it may be. Just in your first little period before you actually start your expedition, just don't go crazy on new foods that you're not used to. So if you're going somewhere, don't have, if you're not big into dairy and you go somewhere and you're like, hey, I'm going to have this crazy pasta, I'm going to have this cheesy pizza or whatever it may be, save that for after the trip. Just look at your nutrition and think, okay, yeah, I may be having things that are a little bit different than normal, but nothing that's outrageously different for me that I don't typically eat. Again, that's a silly thing, but it does catch up a lot of people. Now, all of this stuff is simple. As I'm talking on through all of this, you're probably like, Rowan, this is common sense. Why are you even saying this? I already do all of this, or whatever it may be. But as I said before, I cannot tell you the amount of times that this issue of people just getting sick in the last week or two has just come up over the years. It's just so common. It can add so much extra stress and uncertainty and discomfort, and it's just a simple thing that we want to avoid as much as we can. So if you do have a big expedition in your sights, and it's coming up in few weeks, months, years or whatever it may be, make a note of this. Put a reminder in your calendar for when the taper starts, 2 weeks before you go away or whenever your taper is starting, or put a reminder in your phone. Just say, I'm going to stay healthy. List these things off, do it religiously, stay on top of it, and just do everything you can to stay healthy. Because the last thing you want is after months and months and months of preparation and anticipation and hard work, just having that cold or that flu or that infection or whatever it may be, just getting in the way of your dream adventure. You don't really want that. So make a reminder, put this into action, and I promise you, it'll be time well spent. So with that being said, I'll probably wrap up today's episode here. Last thing I will say, as I always say on this podcast, if you were a mountaineer who needed a little bit of help with your training and you're interested in seeing what our online personal training for mountaineers look like, you can go to summitstrength.com.au/mountaineer. Now on that page, there's a big video, talks through our programs, and if it sounds like something you want to explore a little bit more, there's a link where you can book a free call with our team. We can sit down, have a bit of a chat about you, your situation, your needs, and your mountaineering, and we can see if and how we may be able to help you out. So if you want to check that out, go to summitstrength.com.au/mountaineer, and we can take it from there. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening. Hope you got a bit out of it. Hope it helps a few people stay healthy. Have a lovely day, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye.